So one day while I was taking a stroll on my way to the store to buy some bread, I saw a couple walking back from the store locking arms and giggling to themselves among other things. Now being the chud that I am, I immediately felt my chest tighten, and the sound of my pride being shattered echoed in my head. Since the pain wasn't going away after coming back home, I asked my dear friend what I should do in this situation, as my senses have been dulled to the laundry list of anime that I have watched over the last few months. And my dear friend responds to my plea with a statement.
Well, why don't you just play Persona?
In that moment, I instantly recall that he is an expert in the field of romance games, but I also recall that the game in question happens to have love interests all under the age of 18. I decide that maybe it isn't the best idea to play a game of this title specifically, but after searching and scraping past the vast amounts of porn games in the romance genre, I find the title most interesting. It's a game by the name of Love Curse. In that moment, I instantly grab my debit card and spend the $13 necessary to purchase the game, and launch it soon after. While the game is ready for me, I step into the last shower I have before I finish this game, ignore all my texts, ignore my homework, and I prepare myself for the most romantic experience I have ever had in my life. Before we start, it's important to note that this is a lesbian visual novel with 4 love interests in the entire game. Any and all key moments, endings, and items can be found in the gallery. There are a total of 10 endings in the entire game, 1 good and 1 bad for each character. The other 2 endings I'm not so sure of. Upon clicking start, I had the option to name my character, but the only thing I could think of was Charlie Kirk, so I just decided not to name her anything. The game starts by getting hit by a car and then waking up in our room. It seems we were walking around the shopping district for our 20th birthday. We decide it's a good idea to walk into oncoming traffic, and when a car comes our way we stand still, unable to move our legs. But for some odd reason, this random woman we don't know just steps in front of the car and it suddenly stops. She tells us that her name is Phoenix and that her job is to safeguard the Yan family. She goes on to explain that we were meant to die in that car crash, but she used all of her power to buy us a year of time, and we have to find our soulmate in that time or else we'll die. We then ask what any sane person would and ask if it's a scam, to which she pities us, and from that point on we believe her. She then leaves and our friend shows up to reprimand us for staying in the middle of the road, but oddly enough she specifically states that we were alone standing in the middle of the road. Back in our room, we start thinking over what happened before getting a sudden text message that scared the shit out of me. It's a text message from our mom saying that a new tenant is moving in next door. After it suddenly turns daytime, I discover this little closet thingy in the corner of the screen. While we're getting ready for the day, we hear a knock on our door from the new neighbor. We go out to say hi and it turns out it's our childhood friend from fucking 12 years ago. After an extensive chat, we exchange Instagrams before Megan comes. After they introduce themselves to one another, we head out with Megan. After yet another extensive talk, she brings up the fact that we have to get a job. After that mini heart attack, we immediately rush home. But to our surprise, Nyx is standing there waiting for us. After a bit of talking, we invite her inside to chat some more. After even more talking, we ask her what she's been doing as of late, to which she responds. Moving on, she asks for a favor. We ask what it is and she asks if she can sleep over. Turns out the reason she was waiting for us outside our door in the first place was because she didn't have any good place to sleep. Now the question is where she will sleep. Now, I don't mean to be that guy, but this game is after all a, So we take the gamble, but unfortunately it does not pay off. Hours later, she shows up back at our apartment in pajamas. She offers to buy us lunch the next day, but we have to decline since we have classes. We ask if she also has classes, but she just dodges the question. And we prepare her bed and we just go to sleep for the night. We wake up the next morning and it turns out that Nyx has already left, but she left us a sandwich and a note. It reads as follows. Hey, I had to leave early, but I didn't want to wake you up. Remember to eat breakfast. After eating the sandwich, we head over to the college where we meet Cassidy, a fellow classmate in the same year as us, who happens to have the same major and is also our friend. After my biggest pro decided to crash, we notice that something is off about Cassidy, way quieter and less energetic than normal. It's to the point where she completely ignores us during the lecture and is weirdly attentive to her book. After the lecture ends, we go catch up with Cassidy in the hall and ask her what the hell is going on. She asks why we've been asking so much and we reply with, "I'm worried about you." She asks us why we're asking in the first place, and it's because she isn't actually Cassidy. Yeah, this whole time she fucking knew. It turns out this is her fucking twin sister who loves learning for the love of the game. And Cassidy is so fucking lazy that she didn't even want to show up to the lecture of her own major. Anyways, we exchange Instagrams and we have to go help the fucking student council with some shit. We then get to meet the student council president, Iris. She offers us a cup of coffee in recognition of our work. We chat a little bit more and then we help Megan with her work. After hours of work, we finally get up from our table, and we notice that Iris left us a little QR code with her Instagram on it. She tells us where and when to meet for coffee, and when we actually get there, we order the same thing and sit down. We talk for a few minutes and then glaze her a little bit, and then she mentions that she heard we wanted to get an internship at FUUUUUUHHH. We discuss it a little bit, and then she offers us a letter of recommendation as thanks for all the help we've done in the student council.
Thank you.
Iris tells us that we should be more than prepared because the CEO can be quite demanding, and to let her know if anything arises. We thank her for the advice and then part ways before meeting up with Megan. Megan starts complaining about how she didn't get to come with us for coffee before we get a text message from Eleanor. Nothing much happens here, we just ask her why she's doing Cassidy's homework and then just turn off her phone. After that whole mess, we keep walking and run into none other than Cassidy. She starts talking about how her sister described us as an interesting figure and that she thinks we're someone of note and very special. After this, literally nothing happens, so I'm just gonna fast forward a little bit. One day we wake up extra early to prepare for our interview at FUUUUUUHHH. As we're getting ready though, Megan bombards us with texts. We ask her what's up and she just decides to come over without any warning. And she brings a box and 2 bags. Inside the box is a stray cat that she starts begging us to keep. Now this is a bit tricky given our jobless status, but we decide to give it a try anyway. Iris asks us if we want to grab lunch after the interview, and we offer to pay this time since it's our turn to say thanks.
She's hitting on you.
Nah, no way, right?
I can just tell. She wants you.
Don't start. Wait a second. Am I tripping?
No.
Belle, did you just talk? I'll give you away if you don't talk again.
Are you abandoning me again?
Relax, I'm not gonna do it. Alright, I'm not doing this anymore. We learned from this cat talking that the supernatural really exists and that Phoenix wasn't just some hallucination. We set some guidelines for the cat before heading out to our interview at FUUUUUUHHH. While we're waiting, we hear the other applicants talking about how nervous they are for the interview. It's not long before we get pulled into the main conference room for our interview though. When we introduce ourselves, the interviewers don't have any follow-up questions, they just start flipping through our resume. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I don't feel like editing the actual interview because it's basically just your typical interview process. After the interview, we assume we left a bad impression on who we think is the CEO. We head to the bathroom and immediately spot the same stern interviewer. She already knows we're in the bathroom with her, so we kinda just awkwardly stand there before she leans in as if trying to say something to us. Instead of saying anything, she just leans in and grabs the bottom of our coat. She notices how nervous we are, so she just decides to introduce herself then and there. She starts tugging at the shirt and wiping it with a paper towel before we realize that there's actually just cat fur on it. We apologize for our rudeness, but she just keeps busy with the cat fur. The cat fur refuses to come off, and then she realizes that she's been somewhat rude. She apologizes before we quickly pick out the fur with our fingers. We talk a little bit more before we head home and wait for our interview response. When we get home, we notice 2 things: shouting coming from our apartment, and Nick's peeking out from our apartment door. She tells us there are 2 people inside of our home and asks for context to what's happening. But seeing as we have no idea what the fuck is going on, we tell her to call the cops if anything happens to us. So we enter the apartment and oh my god, dude, come on. I really did think that Charlie, if anything, wouldn't have one of these. It would be a game about lesbians, but I guess I was just too hopeful. So it turns out a certain cat can turn into a cat woman. We turn around to let Nyx know that everything is fine, but she is staring at us. She quickly changes expressions before excusing herself. So to quickly summarize what happens next, because it's a waste of time. So Belle is a 1,000-year-old cat demon who still acts like a child for some reason. Phoenix doesn't tell us shit about her, but decides to live rent-free so that she could protect us from her. Whatever that means. Belle also doesn't tell us shit, so we just ask what her background is instead. She tells us that because she has a very long lifespan, she has to switch owners every once in a while so that she doesn't get caught as a weird cat thing. We ask her why she doesn't want to just live as a normal person, to which she responds,
You want me to work?
Fast forward a little bit, they segue into this game's dating system. She follows us up by recommending us to go on a date with Nixie, but I really don't want to do that. So I just decide to pick a date with Victoria instead. It starts off with us waking up from a really bad nightmare, and we decide to sweat it off by going on an early morning run before sunrise. While we're enjoying the scenery, we hear footsteps behind us, slowly creeping towards us. We pick up the pace, but the person behind us does the same. Without hesitating, we walk towards a beer bottle that was left on the ground, then we crouch down, pretending to tie our shoes. As we're getting ready to strike, we hear a familiar voice. We turn around and see Victoria, and we kind of just awkwardly stare at each other. We break the ice by greeting her, she greets back. We explain our thought process to her, and she explains that the path was so narrow that she couldn't run around us. She asks us if we were still scared, and we tell her that we were, but not anymore. We continue our run with Victoria for a little while longer before we get tired. She offers us a piece of chocolate to re-energize, and then tells us a little bit more about the brand. We thank her for the chocolate before heading home. After our date, we just text Nyx because I didn't know who else to text at this point. Also, it's worth mentioning that after every date, you can only text one person. Also, I'm skipping the rest of the dates with Victoria because they all just went something like, we work a lot, little bit of comfort, and then it ends. That's it. And with that, we end off the month and move on to October. One night, Phoenix comes to talk to us about an important subject she's had on mind, while casually drinking out of a porcelain cup that is old enough to be a national treasure. In any case, we get a flashback of her explaining to us that this compass will direct us towards our soulmate once we find them, but for now it's not pointing to anyone and it has no distance marked on it. She explains to us that it was given to her by the head of our family, but she discloses no more information about her, which is a little bit irritating. While we're talking, we get a text message saying that Juanyu accepted our internship. The next morning, we wake up with so much joyous that we invite all of our friends to head out to eat. Cassidy makes up some lame-ass excuse and then just sends her sister over instead of going. We invite Iris last minute, but thankfully she can actually make it. And before leaving, we delude Belle with a sense of responsibility to take care of the house. And of course, as we're about to leave, this fucking bitch just... So we were basically just about to invite Nyx, and she beat us to the punch after she overheard us. We explain the occasion and she starts pouting before we even get to the fucking point. She starts begging for an invite, and of course we invite her. Fast forward and we get to the meetup location and Megan has a present for us. How generous. We also receive a watch from Eleanor. Also generous. There's not really much else to say. We head inside and Iris is already there waiting for us at the table. We thank everyone for coming to the celebration. And it's not like they're trying to hide the fact they're only here for the food. Almost immediately, Nyx starts trying to feed us. Then Iris hands us a magoli. We ask Iris if she wants to order some soju since we're curious about the taste. Eleanor tries to jump in on the fun by recommending a different place for drinks. Iris says that she's not actually a big fan of alcohol, and she just wants to try something new with us, which is code for fuck off. Eleanor doesn't catch that and remains persistent, which annoys the shit out of Iris. She begrudgingly agrees to invite her, but we lighten Iris's mood by saying we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Nyx tries to grab our attention before trying to feed us again. Then the gathering ends and we part ways with Iris and Eleanor. Just then, Megan decides to lean in and call us out. Not cool. After the day ends and we get home, we decide to text Iris before going to bed. As we're falling asleep, we start wishing that Megan also got into Juanyu. Then comes our first day at Juanyu. We're a little nervous about starting this job, but we finished the onboarding process pretty early. But sitting next to us, we notice a familiar figure. It just so happens that Megan also works here now. She starts complaining about how she got moved here from her other job, but at least we're co-workers now. We ask her when she found out about this news, and she tells us that she just found out 2 days ago. Now, we're not exactly the happiest person after hearing this because she literally could have told us yesterday at the party. Since it's our first day on the job, they don't give us too much tasks to do, and before too long, it's already noon. Fuck, dude, that was a big one. On the way to lunch, Megan starts begging us for forgiveness, but we've already decided to forgive her, so it doesn't matter. She does offer us a latte though, which, who are we to refuse? Since it's our first day working here, we kind of just roam around the cafeteria like lost puppies for a bit before settling on a corner table. Almost immediately after sitting down, Megan points our attention to one woman who stands out among all the people in the room. She could be described as a rich kid living the life of commoners, which isn't too far off. After lunch, we take a leisurely stroll back to our desk, but we see a pile of documents and a fresh cup of coffee sitting on our desk. Now, we find this a little bit strange, but then we remember that Megan still owed us a cup of coffee. so we just go ahead and assume she bought it for us. Then Victoria and the rich girl come into the office looking for something. Before we know it, we're put in this situation again. We awkwardly ask if the coffee is hers, and Victoria comes over and reprimands her for doing this again. But with this, we learn that the other woman is Chairwoman Rosalie. She tells us not to worry about the coffee, but then her attention is directed towards the pile of documents we were just sorting. She's in awe at the fact that we had already finished her work by the time she got here. We apologize and explain that we thought our department was responsible for it. She explains that it was meant for our department, but to come with her for a second. After going to Victoria's office, Rosalie asks if we're open to transferring to her workplace instead. We tell her we'll think about it, but she just pushes further with her offer. Victoria steps in saying her approval is needed as per the contract. Fast forward a little bit, we tell her we'll consider the offer. She apologizes for the trouble she's caused us and offers us lunch, so yet another dinner date. The whole dinner happens off screen. Victoria drives us back home, and we end off the month like that. Life really has been good to us at this point. We've gone on a few dates with Victoria, finished our semester, and become official employees at Huanyu. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think it's prime time to invite our friends to another party. We invite everyone from before, including Victoria and Rosalie, but Megan couldn't make it because her relative was in the hospital. And we sit down for dinner and get another beautiful wallpaper. We clearly remember how the same things happened last time, but this time we don't have Megan to protect us, so that kinda sucks. At the end of the month, Belle comes out of Phoenix's room with the compass in hand. She shows us that the needle hasn't moved, but in fact it looks like it's getting further and further away from the main star. Now, it's not all bad news, because Phoenix comes in and tells us that our soulmate is actually Victoria, and that we have the potential to change our own fate. So we start doing just that, but you already know I'm skipping the fucking date, so let's just move on. The next month starts with us taking Victoria back home from a party. At this point, she's a drunk mess who can barely walk by herself. We help her onto the couch and pour her a hot glass of water to help with the hangover. We find it a bit strange that she called us to pick her up instead of someone else, but by the time we got there, she collapsed straight into our arms, so we just helped her along anyway. We explained that it might be hard to get a taxi at this time, so we might struggle a bit to get home. She says we can stay the night if we can't get a taxi, and we offer to make her some hangover soup as thanks for this. She starts mumbling something, but we can't quite make out what she's saying. We set the bowl of soup down and move in to check on her to see if she's okay. We don't really have the heart to wake her up, so we just start watching her sleep. We notice her eyebrows are sharp and still slightly furrowed. Just as we're about to smooth it out, she wakes up. We play it off as if we were just trying to wake her up, and we tell her to drink some of the soup so she doesn't get a hangover the next day. A tear slowly comes down her eye, and without hesitating we hand her a tissue. She apologizes for losing her composure, and explains that she had just thought of her mother. She had passed away so long ago that she doesn't even remember what she looks like, but rather how gentle she was with her. She tells us that no one has been this nice to her in a long time. She's done an amazing job building this company, but the one person who would be more proud than anything is no longer here. She tells us that we've been very good to her. When she's about to say something else though, she pauses. She tells us to forget everything she just said, and as our superior, she crossed the line by telling us all this. We let her know our thoughts though, and we tell her that we're happy she told us. Furthermore, that we're happy to listen as a friend or something more. She asks us what we mean by something more, and we tell her that we don't just want to be friends. She asks us to elaborate, but stops herself mid-sentence. We jump at the opportunity to explain our feelings, and then we fall into an awkward silence. We think for a moment. She sighs, and it seems as though she doesn't share our feelings. She apologizes, but with barely any strength to stand, we head home for the night. When we get home, we don't respond to her texts or anything, and we just turn off our phone and go directly to sleep. The next day, when we drag ourselves back to work, Megan wastes no time to tell us we look like shit. When lunchtime comes around, she offers to pay for our food, but asks us why we look so sad. We explain everything to her, and she says that she also thought Victoria shared our feelings. We explain that we had spent a long time preparing our confession, but she tells us not to feel so bad because there's a chance she could be straight. Well, there's really nothing much we can do now, so we just have to try to move on. Later that day, we start replaying the memories of what happened while we're working. We snap back to reality when we realize that Victoria is now walking directly towards us. Since we're really not trying to deal with this right now, we decide to go to the break room and get some water. She asks us if we're going to the break room, and we ask her if she needs something from us. And she tells us she doesn't, and that she was just curious. Weird. We finally manage to calm down after getting some hot tea, and we start wondering why she started smiling at us. But just then, she steps into the break room with us. She asks us why we left in such a hurry, and we tell her we just so happen to be really thirsty. She then asks us if we're upset. We say no, but she sees right through it, and she asks us to talk about what's on our mind over dinner. Later that night, we ask her if she still remembers what happened. She says yes, and then we ask her reasoning for bringing us here. She's about to ask us something, but she cuts herself off, and we just remain silent. We try to pull her hand away, but her grip is too tight, and she tells us that we never let her finish her thoughts last night. When we confessed, she hesitated, but not because she doesn't love us. It's just because she doesn't have any experience with love. Us telling her that we wanted to know more about her confused her to her very core, and during our time together, she couldn't recognize what the feelings she felt towards us were. Why she felt uncomfortable seeing us with others? Did she really think of us as just a friend? She lost sleep thinking about us. She realized she didn't want to push us away at all. She just truly never understood her own emotions. Every time she thought about us, she just wanted to gently caress our face. Maybe the feelings are the same? Are they the same? She says yes, and that she also wants to get to know us. And we come to the conclusion that it might just be worth a try. And just like that, we're back to having a wonderful time. We spend a lot more time together, the obsessive one is finally gone, but weirdly enough, the one moving her stuff out looks strangely like... who the fuck cares, it's not like it's important or anything. But also, the two freeloaders are finally leaving. We finally get to have the house to ourselves again, and we don't have to deal with some fuck-ass cat. A few days later though, we're chilling out with Victoria, having a coffee date. We're having a grand old time, but then we bump into someone familiar. We find ourselves in a conversation with Rosalie for a little bit, but for some reason Victoria doesn't seem too pleased by this. Suddenly though, Rosalie mentions something weird about some responsibilities. That Victoria can go on dates whenever she likes, but she can't be negligent with some specific things though. After Rosalie leaves, we ask Victoria if she's doing alright. She says no, and we ask her what Rosalie was talking about when she said responsibilities. But she tells us it doesn't matter because she'll handle it. It's honestly so nice to have someone to tackle the big problems in the household. A few days later though, while we're looking for her at work, we overhear her and Rosalie talking about something that sounds important. We don't want to pry, but just as we're about to leave, we hear something strange. Rosalie says that it doesn't matter what she does, as long as it does not interfere with the engagement. Hearing this shakes us to our very core, but just as we're about to leave, we get caught by the two of them. We turn around and ask if they need something from us, and then Rosalie leaves us to talk one-on-one. In her office, she tells us that it's just her family's decision, and that she'll fix it. But from our perspective, it looks like we're just a homewrecker. I can't believe she was here for our McDonald's points the whole time. This is almost worse than that time Sean abandoned me for his girlfriend. We run away with tears in our eyes, unable to go back, despite hearing her calling our name. It really seems like this is the end for us. There's really nothing she could do to get out of this marriage, and we don't want to become her mistress. Rosalie orchestrated this entire arranged marriage simply for profit, and she has Victoria pinned into a corner with her family's ties. To think that her own cousin would betray her like this. And unfortunately, I guess that's where our story ends. But wait. When looking through a few documents, Victoria spots something groundbreaking. The woman on the other side of the arranged marriage hasn't even agreed to it yet. Furthermore, Rosalie did a few shady things in her past in order to get into power, and if she continues pushing for the marriage, they will be exposed. With this newfound hope, we look through all the records and compile all the evidence of Rosalie's crimes. And we set up a meeting with Rosalie. The next day we arrive before the meeting time and discuss our game plan a bit before confronting Rosalie. When she arrives, we immediately get to the point, and Victoria opens a folder and starts listing records of all of her crimes. Things like embezzlement, rigging votes, and tax evasion. Rosalie commends her for all the work she's done to get out of this engagement. She agrees to back down on the condition that she transfers all the key group assets to her. Victoria accepts, and they agree to sign the contract next Monday. It's been several months since the confrontation with Rosalie, and a lot has happened since then. We've had to resign from Huanyu so that nobody suspects the relationship we have with Victoria, and we've since then joined a company called Taibo. We've had less time with Victoria since we had to work extra hard at Taibo, seeing as they don't take kindly to outsiders. But things should get easier after we finish our next project at the company. The next thing on the docket is to sign a deal with the company Huanyu, which includes the CEO, so the two companies are holding a meeting together, with all the employees related to the project present. We enter the meeting room, but at that moment, we yet again notice another familiar figure. It just so happens that Megan is here again. I mean, what are the odds? I guess they're pretty high. She is a senior employee. We start catching up a little bit before all the executives show up. The purpose of this meeting is to maintain a healthy relationship with the neighboring tech companies, as the executives believe that in this industry, it is best to help each other rather than to only help oneself. Victoria shakes hands with each one of Taibo's representatives before eventually reaching us. We stand in front of each other and shake each other's hands before she says, "I look forward to our collaboration. Keep up the good work." We thank her for the advice and the cameras start flashing, capturing the moment of her prime. Just then she tells us, "I look forward to our next meeting." And we think to ourselves that one day we'll be standing up there with her. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching this video. It means a lot to me, and it would mean the world to me if you could share this video around. If you liked it, of course. If you didn't, don't share it, it's fine. If you would like to see more videos like this, please recommend me another game to play, or please like the video, subscribe, or whatever the fuck. Shit took forever to make, so I'm not sure I'm going to make a video this long again, unless this video gains a decent amount of traction for our first video. But I did want to say that during this video's editing process, it did suffer greatly because I worked at really odd hours. A mistake I'll try not to make again the next time I make one of these. So yeah, that's why I sounded a little bit odd like here and there during the video. Moreover, this video was actually meant for the 14th for no particular reason, but since I'm so late, I have a present for all of you guys. So please enjoy this little montage I put together.
I don't think I've ever actually played a dating game. I've only ever played DDLC.
You've played Persona.
That's not a dating game. Well,
are we serious?
yeah, no it is.
Good boy.
Shut up. Fuck.
Don't lie to yourself. And don't lie to me, because I already know the truth. In fact, even right now...
I'm pregnant, you idiot.
What?
It's in the title, you
Congratulations.
fucking
You
idiot.
knocked up your...
Slime. What the fuck? Dog, are you fuck? What?
All three inches of my chub are like at full mass.
Lovely.
All the chosos line up, immediately pop out. All 20 piercing blood. Sukuna like dodges most of them, but gets nicked by one and gets its blood poisoned. Sukuna says, "Ah, poison blood. I haven't used my poison blood removal technique since the Heian era." And it does. And then boom, he doesn't have blood anymore.